I ask for the truth on behalf of Ashley Guerrero concerning relationship issues. At a fork in the road, doesn't know where to go, doesn't know what to do. And I ask this in the name of truth, right conduct, peace, love and non-violence. Blessed be to the truth always. And we just cut the deck for you there, Ashley. And where it splits is where it's believed to be at its strongest point, or most energetic point. And then we just move the cards to the side here, and we'll deal out 3 cards. Excuse me, we'll deal out 3 cards. The 3 card spread that we do here is the past, the present and the future. It's a pretty common one, isn't it, that most of us use. So we have the past here, the present here, and then of course the future there for you. Of course the future is the immediate future. So I would say a moon phase behind here, a moon phase in front, and of course Ashley Guerrero there just in the middle there somewhere, as you would say right now. So it's about 3 or 4 weeks or so ago and 3 or 4 weeks or so into the future, isn't it? The recent past influence, present influence and immediate future influence. That's how we do this one, how we work out this. Of course, with you having a question, of course, and asking about your relationship primarily, I think you did ask about messages from the other side, but probably we could deal with that some other time. You seem to be just drawn to this relationship issue, really. The meaning of each card is relevant to the position in the past, the present or the future. So the first card, for example, is for the recent past, about 3 or 4 weeks or so ago, isn't it? The moon phase or so ago. And the meaning of that card or interpretation of that card will be relevant to your recent past and of course to the question that you've asked as well. It'll be relevant to your recent past and the question you've asked. I'm a poet and don't know it. So let's first of all flip this card over. We'll flip it nice and slow so we don't disturb the energy, and let's just see what we've got. You've got the Mystic Circle. That's an interesting card, isn't it? We've got the runes, the fourth arc there. That's the Mystic Circle in this particular scenario. Just really indicating that your abilities were enhanced in some way. Your abilities have been enhanced in some way. You've gained skills or abilities, maybe due to experience in your relationship, and I suppose you've been trying to work things out in your relationship, trying different things. I suppose you feel that your relationship has been more of a science experiment, really, because as one thing works or another thing fails, as you would say, as one thing fails, you try and get it right with something else instead. And maybe as things keep failing, I suppose you feel at the end of your tether in some way, in that regard to why things aren't working out properly in your love life, as you would say. But either way, your abilities have been enhanced throughout it, and you have learnt and you become more skillful. So it isn't as if you are the loser to some degree, is it? Let's see where you are now, though. Of course, we can always talk about the past and what we've learnt from it, but we can't define ourselves by the past, because it's in the past and that's it. It's done with, to some degree. We've got to think about what's happening now, defining ourselves by what we're doing now. And what are you doing now, and what energy is vibrating with you now? Let's just slowly reveal the energy of this card that's for your present influence, and you've got the energy of the moon, just indicating really that right now you will be guided through the darkness. There's a lot of darkness going on here. Of course, the moon is introspection, isn't it? It symbolises introspection, the inner self, and it's got like an Egyptian feel to it, hasn't it? This had the mystic circle has got like a Norse sort of Viking feel to it, with the Thorth arc there, and the chart of that there, and of course with the energy of the moon. Sometimes, of course, the moon, the excuse me, the moon can symbolise deception and lies, because there's no such thing as moonlight, is there? Moonlight really is a reflection. It's reflected sunlight, isn't it? In that regard, the moon isn't illuminated of its own accord. So it can symbolise lunacy, it can symbolise delusion even, to some degree. But of course, that's where the darkness comes in, isn't it? Just when you think the light is shining in the darkness, it's actually the light from somewhere else shining up on that. And you so relied upon whatever it was, or you are right now so relying upon whatever it is that's shining in the darkness, that you don't realise that it's not shining of its own accord. Does the moon in this case symbolise your relationship that shines only because it's illuminated from somewhere else? And if that light goes out, then that's it. The relationship is over, isn't it? And that's why you need the guidance through the darkness. Maybe, of course, a helping hand, a listening ear from a relative, or from elders or something, or maybe, of course, from readers like in the Free Psychic Readings group on Facebook, and of course we post on the YouTube channel there, and just basically forward it on the Twitter feed, don't we, really, in that regard, just in case Facebook decides to go all childish or something like that. We've got a bit of a backup system we can use, that if you haven't, you can't find your reading in any way, just look on the YouTube channel, it'll be there. If say, for example, I get booted out again, for whatever reason, I got booted out again, maybe I mentioned something that I'm not supposed to mention, like Muslims or immigration or something like that, maybe. I got a funny feeling this reading might not be published now, but either way, don't worry, check the YouTube channel out and it'll be there, I can assure you. But anyway, back to here again. Of course, guidance through the darkness in your relationship, with the Egyptian feel, of course, there. Notice that maybe ancient ones, spirit is there, of course, willing to try and help you, but they can only guide you, they can only sort of give you signposts, really. It's up to you to make the choice, isn't it? You always do have a choice, you have that freedom to choose, don't you? Let's see what possibly in the future is there to be chosen from, as you would say. Let's just see what vibrates there in this relationship of yours. There, you've got the gate. That's a bit of a disappointment there, isn't it? Because that just really indicates that a barrier will keep you from your goal. Something will get in the way. I don't know, let's say a gate will slam too, I suppose, as you would say. And of course, if you haven't got the key to open it, or you can't climb over it or whatever, but from a metaphorical point of view, of course, a spiritual point of view, the spirit is just saying that really the relationship, a barrier will keep you from your goal. You want the relationship to work, maybe you don't, I don't know, but whatever it is you want from this relationship, I just get this sense as though something was going to get in the way, something is going to stop you. Not so much Sod's law, which of course does exist, anything that can go wrong will go wrong at the most inconvenient time, but it's more to do, I think, with maybe you're making, maybe to do with this delusion right now, and maybe that's why you need the guidance through the darkness, because the impression you've got from life, or from what life has been throwing at you just lately with the fork in the road, of course you've had a sort of an impression that's literally that, isn't it? An impression where the sun shines on the moon and leaves its impression, its light on the moon. The moon itself does not shine, but the sun shines there, and the impression that you got was you were relying on the moonlight, and there's no such thing as moonlight, because as it moves around, as you know, the phases of the moon change, don't they? So it gets brighter and dimmer, and of course you can have a full moon in the middle of the day, can't you, which is a new moon, isn't it? The opposite to full moon, as you would say there. So yes, it's all a delusion and all sorts of lunacy going on right now, and that's maybe, of course, with the skills that you gained, or the abilities that were enhanced over the past 3 or 4 weeks or so, you will need them to try and get you through this barrier, or over it, or under it, or whatever. If a barrier is there, you can go round it, under it, through it, or over it. You just got to work a way through it, literally. But of course the darkness right now doesn't help, does it? And that's really the problem. And but for the foreseeable future, it's about really endurance, fortitude, and just seeing this through to completion. I'm afraid just sometimes things happen, shit happens, and maybe healing is needed. For that, I think we'll just spin the prayer wheel, the Buddhist prayer wheel, with the mantra of Om Mani Padme Hum, which effectively is, may the dew of the eternal lotus shine upon the world, the embodiment of compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering there. So let's hope that as you watch the spinning wheel, it frees you from suffering and helps heal you also. And anybody else watching as well. You only have to see the mantra being spun, and of course that's what it is. But for now, these cards for you have spoken.